Charles Lindbergh was not the first aviator to fly the Atlantic, nor the second. In fact, 23 airmen crossed the ocean before him. Early in the 20th century, there was a lot of interest in completing the flight, especially when the London Daily Mail announced it would award £10,000 to the first aviator to cross the Atlantic in under 72 hours. The first to succeed were a crew of 6 men in a U.S. Navy flying boat. They were in one of 3 planes that set out on May 8, 1919, from New York to Europe. The planes first flew to Nova Scotia, then Newfoundland, before setting out on a 1,200-mile flight to the Azores in the middle of the ocean. There would be no landmark to help the crew stay on course, so the Navy ordered 22 destroyers to form a line along the route to the Azores. The navigators stayed on course by following the ship's spotlights and radio signals. 2 of the planes failed to reach the destination, but the aircraft named NC-4 landed in the Azores on May 20th. After several days of making repairs, they finished the flight by going on to Portugal. With time spent on repairs and rest for the crew, it took the NC-4 17 days to complete the trip. Unfortunately, the flight took too long to qualify for the Daily Mail's prize. 2 British pilots, John Alcock and Arthur Brown, attempted to win it by flying direct from Canada to England, with no chances of making stops along the way. For luck, Alcock brought his toy cat mascot, Lucky Jim, and Brown took along Twinkletoes. They'd need luck because the trip proved far more dangerous than they'd expected. Early in the flight, an electrical failure left them without an intercom, radio, or heat. Then, just after dawn, almost halfway across the Atlantic, their engines failed. The plane stalled and began spiraling down to the sea. Alcock pulled the plane out of the stall just 100 feet above the water as the Rolls-Royce engines roared into life again. Later, they flew into a sleet storm. Their instruments froze as hail accumulated in the cockpit. According to one account, Brown spent hours climbing out on the wings to break off the ice that was forming on the engine carburetors. On the morning of June 15, 1919, they crossed the Irish coast and landed. But instead of putting down in a meadow, Alcock mistakenly landed in a bog. The plane tipped onto its nose before coming to a rest. The 2 pilots emerged from the plane relatively unscathed. A group of local residents ran up to offer help. A man in the crowd asked, "Where are you from?" Alcock said, "America." The crowd laughed and wouldn't believe it. Having completed the flight in 16 hours, the men were awarded the £10,000 from the London Daily Mail and were knighted by King George V a few days later. Many pilots completed the transatlantic flight in the years that followed, including Charles Lindbergh in 1927, but Alcock and Brown deserve to be remembered as the first to fly non-stop over the wide, lonely ocean. This video is brought to you by the Saturday Evening Post Digital Archives. Saturday Evening Post members can explore our 200-year-old archive for only $15 a year. Subscribe today.